Time to shift our focus over to the upcoming legislative session. Actually, we're going to shift our focus over to the potential of a special session before that session. We'll get into all of it right now. State Senator Jeremy Stine from the Lake Charles area joins us now. Jeremy, good morning. Welcome. How are you?
Good morning, Brian. Great to be here.
Great to have you in here.
Sure.
It was, you're coming from Lake Charles, so I was like, this is going to be an easy peasy phone call, right? And you're like, no, I'll be in town Thursday. Let's do it then. So, yes, appreciate it.
And I'm in town for property and casualty insurance. We have a commission meeting this morning right after I leave here. That's where I'll be heading. So.
Even better. Let's start there.
Sure.
Are we going to see a special session?
I was just texting some of my colleagues. What's going on? So I'm trying to get updates. Hopefully we'll have something to share with you today or throughout this week. So yeah. I'm still trying to find out.
So Governor John Bel Edwards was asked about it and has asked the Governor Show yesterday. He says it's possible that it could be rolled into the regular session, which personally I think would be, you're getting a very serious issue lost in the wash at that point, you know? So right. Depopulating citizens would be the topic of it, wouldn't it?
That's it. That's the whole reason we're told we could be in on a Monday and then adjourn on a Friday. It would be very quick. That would be the only thing the only task at hand would be to pass a bill to fund this Louisiana insurance incentive program to the tune of about $15 million of a total package of $45 million. But we ultimately need to look. Everyone knows we have a crisis on our hands right now, and so the goal is, like you said, to depopulate folks that are on Citizens, which by law is the most expensive property insurance in the state. And so having this incentive in place for these insurance companies, we hope. Look, we saw what happened after Hurricane Katrina. Mm-hmm. There was some success there. Granted, I'd like to see a little bit more stress tests, if you will, in terms of, because look, some of these companies that we did incentivize with these grant dollars went belly up or
right.
insolvent. So, we have to make sure that if we are going to fund and have this incentive program and these grants for these insurance companies, that they're gonna be around for the long haul.
State Senator Jeremy Stine is our guest. I mean, you mentioned Katrina, and yeah, that was kind of the impetus for Citizens. Well, it was the impetus for Citizens
Sure.
in the first place. But you had a rough 2020 in your own backyard. When looking at incentivizing insurance companies, we can't just look at the most recent hurricane season. I mean, everything is kind of viewed through the lens of this is Louisiana's track record, is it not?
Yeah. So, look, Hurricane Katrina, let's not forget Hurricane Rita in my backyard just 3 weeks after that, which compounded it. And then, of course, you have Hurricanes Laura, Delta, Zeta, Ida. It all made for a terrible situation. Of course, now Hurricane Ian after that. And so you've got all of these factors. And look, the insurance companies, if you go to Lake Charles, they're not the most popular company in town in Southwest Louisiana. And that's, a lot of the delay taxes that we saw. And so what we're trying to do is in some of my goals last session, which was my first session, by the way, I was elected in a special session. Of course, former State Senator Ronnie Johns was in my seat, and he now is the Gaming Control Board chairman for the state when he was tapped by Governor Edwards. I then won the special election last year. And so, I'm coming on, and last year my goal was to try to put some safeguards and try to prevent some of these insurance companies from these sort of negligent behavior. With that said, we also we can't hit them too hard on the head, right? We have to be able to entice them to come back to our state. And so hopefully that's what we'll be able to do with this grant.
There's got to be a better answer than just flinging money at them on the front end. Yeah,
I mean, that's what we're struggling with. You folks have been pointing to Florida. Oh, they just had a special session themselves. They must be doing something right. Well, actually, no. If you look at ratings agencies and other folks that are in the know of this industry, we actually have a pretty decent market if you do compare us to Florida, which is in a much worse situation. And so there's no perfect answer. This is it's such a highly regulated industry as well. It's very difficult to find the right answer. We think this is a good first step, as long as we have those safeguards in place that we don't have these third-rate companies coming in and taking our money and sitting on it. And then when we do get hit hard by a hurricane, they're out of here.
Yeah, either they pack up and leave, or they completely go insolvent and everybody's stuck.
That's right.
State Senator Jeremy Stine is our guest. So if you were to handicap this, since you replaced Ronnie Johns, if you were to handicap this,
that was pretty good.
Yeah, thank you. The likelihood that we do see a special session versus the likelihood that it ends up being folded into the regular session.
Yeah, I mean, I'd put it at, let's say, 80%. I mean, it's looking like it's going to happen. There's a few folks I think they're trying to talk to convince them that we need to do it now. Obviously, the reinsurance market, the insurance companies have to purchase enough reinsurance, so that if we do get hit hard, there's enough money to cover them. And they go out around February, March to purchase this reinsurance, and we need to have more insurance companies there to be able to do that. And so I think time is of the essence, and so we more than likely should see a special session for just about 4 or 5 days.
The governor's comments yesterday during his monthly call-in show made it sound like there's this unbelievable time crunch to get it done. A special session of this nature could be started and finished within 2 to 3 days, and y'all don't start the regular session until April.
That's right.
So there's probably more time than he was alluding to.
Yeah, I think there's enough time to do it the first week. After Washington Mardi Gras is when we'd come back and knock it out. And then, you're talking about the regular session, the fiscal session, starting on Easter Monday, April 10th. And so we could very well knock it out in that first week of April. But again, we're told that the time is of the essence with regards to this purchasing this insurance or getting insurers here writing in the state of Louisiana.
Yeah. And we got state. Okay.
No, I was just going to touch on the fiscal session, but I thought we were
going to pivot there next. Sure. State Senator Jeremy Stine from Lake Charles is our guest. All right, Jeremy, let's ask you about the fiscal session that's upcoming. What is most important to you before starting this fiscal session?
Look, the big talk of late has been income tax, right? And getting rid of the income tax. And when I campaigned last year, I in fact, my campaign manager got so sick and tired of me of mentioning this book called Showdown at Gucci Gulch that he printed out a nice life-size poster of it, and it's hanging in the Capitol in my office right there. Showdown at Gucci Gulch, for folks that haven't read it, I suggest you pick up a copy. It's a great book that was written in the 80s, all about the 1986 tax reform bill that Reagan signed and passed. And it was at his urging that we simplify the tax code. As a former actor, Reagan got tired of paying over 50% in income tax. He wanted to simplify the tax code and bring down the marginal rates, and he did that. In 1986, tax reform was the most consequential piece of tax reform that we've had in the history of this country. And so, and by the way, the title comes from Gucci Gulch, Gulch referring to a hallway in D.C. in the Capitol, and Gucci refers to the clothing that the lobbyists would wear. And so the showdown at Gucci Gulch was literally the legislators, the congressmen and senators had to bar the doors from the lobbyists coming into these rooms where they were trying to strike deals to get rid of lots and thousands of exemptions and exclusions to be able to bring down these marginal rates and simplify the tax code. And so that book inspired me to want to do more. And I spoke about that on the campaign trail. And you got to find a way to pay for it.
Right.
And if you're going to, as you know, the income tax brings home, $4 billion to the state general fund. To be able to do that, you're going to have to start cutting from these exemptions and exclusions. Now, I'm not advocating zero income tax just yet. If you're going to eat an elephant sandwich, you don't eat it all in one bite. You cut it into pieces.
Right.
And so I think we can get there over time. We've got Texas doing it. Mississippi and Arkansas have a 2030 date that they'd like to start to get to it. But if we're going to do it, we got to get serious about these exemptions and exclusions. Right now, there's 191 on the books. There's 119 that are active, meaning in 2025, in the summer of 2025, July 1, 71 of those will come back online and be active again and be live. So there's talk of potentially just keeping those 71, which we haven't really heard. It hasn't rocked the world too much to where we haven't heard from those folks that have those 71 suspended. That's revenue right there that we could potentially raise. And then in terms of solutions, in terms of just if we can't get in terms of cutting that elephant sandwich into pieces, like I mentioned, we can't get there on day one to eliminating the income tax to be more competitive. However, there are some things that we can do. For example, the standard deduction. If you look right now, the federal government, to their credit, they're actually keeping up with inflation with regards to their standard deduction. For a married couple, it's $27,700. And for a single taxpayer, it's half that, $13,000, almost $14,000. And guess what, Brian? We haven't raised our standard deduction since 1983. So currently, it's $4,500 for a single taxpayer and $9,000 for a married couple. You bring that up to inflation with the CPI. Right now, we'd be sitting just over with the feds, just over $27,000, and half of that, $13,500 for single tax filers. And so you'll be seeing that from me. I'm getting the fiscal office to do some math on what that would look like, and so I think this is a good first step. And so, for example, married couple making $120,000. Well, if we get that standard deduction up to where it should be, the rate that it was set back in 1983, if it had kept up with inflation, you would go from a 4.25 in the tax bracket, lowering your taxes back to the 3.5% rate where we are current for state. We're talking about state income taxes only, right? And so you're looking at savings of about $1,000, and so that's real. That's hard. That's dollars that you worked for that belongs back in your pocket. So I think this is a good first step of getting us there.
Okay, so that was actually we only got 2.5 minutes left. That was actually be my follow-up question was, how do you said you can't do this all at once, but when it comes to eliminating exemptions, simplifying codes, moving things around, and versus getting rid of the income tax overall, how do you make them balance year by year if you're only doing a piece of it at a time? I mean, it becomes what comes first, the chicken or the unbelievably expensive egg?
Look, again, you do it piece by piece. You see where you are. So if we were to take this approach, a slower approach of raising the standard deduction, keeping some of these suspended exemptions, these 71 off the books, and there are other that have been suspended that will come back active in 2025. And again, the fiscal office is going to let us know where we are in terms of those numbers. If we are able to do this, then we see where we are a year or two down the road and see, well, what else can we do in terms of eliminating these exemptions and exclusions?
Senator Jeremy Stine, our guest, for another minute and a half before we have to get out of here for news. Want to ask you about spending one-time dollars. Can you give me the 60-second answer on where that should go?
Roads and bridges, infrastructure. We're desperately in need of infrastructure. Look, we back home, Southwest Louisiana, where I'm from, in the Lake Charles area, we are the comeback story. I mean, we are coming back strong. We've got LNG plants, tens of thousands of jobs that are been created to help with the LNG. We've got our casinos coming back up, Golden Nugget, L'Auberge, and of course, Caesars Entertainment. We'll have the first Michelin star restaurant in the state of Louisiana with Gordon Ramsay being in Lake Charles. We're coming back strong. And that's all possible because of some of these tax incentives we've given and lowering the tax threshold for some of these businesses to do business. But one-time dollars, we are in desperate need. In order to continue to attract these businesses, we need better roads and bridges. Calcasieu River Bridge is vitally important, as is the bridge here in Baton Rouge. And if we can get those one-time dollars for infrastructure needs to keep up with folks like in Texas, roads and bridges is absolutely a necessity.
You see how he added the "as is the bridge" here in Baton Rouge? Respect to that right there. He is State Senator Jeremy Stine. First visit in studio, but not the last, man. You can be a regular as the session gets here. Appreciate your time this morning.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Now, thank you. We got a break. We got news, traffic, weather. When we come back, it's time for Crime Stoppers. The folks from eye care are in the house, and we will talk to them right after this. Of course, the outside end is going to be coming your way before we finish the hour out as well, right here on Talk 107.3 FM. So, still hot on Facebook. We're always on. Yeah, we'll post this up on either the audio on demand or the video will be on my YouTube page. So no, great stuff. I thought you were going to lead with when I asked about the regular session. I thought you were going to start with the one-time infrastructure dollars. Is there something to? And this is
the reason I wanted to jump into that in terms of the tax, just because it's such a hot topic. So I wanted to. That seems to have been the theme in a lot of the stories.
So you mentioned not eating an elephant in one bite. You're 42, okay. So you're 6 years older than Richard Nelson.
Yes. I'm not a dinosaur.
No. That's where I'm going with this, though. We have a section of our state legislature who's hungry and energetic enough to get some real shit done right now. Like, it's not like, oh, we'll just move a few pieces along the way just to kind of cement our legacy. We gotta
move.
Yeah, we have an opportunity here right now.
Yeah. And look, it's an election year, so it's gonna. It's telling us be hard to get, which is quite possible. But I'm very hopeful. There's gonna be lots of younger folks coming in. It's gonna be a new governor, whoever that may be. But I believe it's gonna be opportunities.
I think so as well. So if this year is just setting the table for next year, then that's fine too. But like I've talked to them.
Yeah, you eat your stuff.
Thank you. I tried to.
You're the most well versus.
I mean,
more than the legislators themselves.
What's fun? We just added Moon Griffon back on the station.
And Moon's a great friend.
No, he's awesome. I love him. But I'm I'm a lot more friendly, apparently, to lawmakers than he is. So we have a lot of the same political beliefs, and they come across completely opposite over the air. It's hilarious. So, but
I think it'll be a great overall.
oh, so do I. So do
I enjoyed this. This is great.
No, so did I. This is good stuff. I appreciate it.
Enjoyed listening to it on here. So
Definitely hanging on to your phone number.
we gotta have you syndicating more.
I'm down for that for sure. Would love that. I don't know. It's so
Baton Rouge metro area.
yeah, yeah, and that's the hard part. There is everybody has their own morning show, so your morning show is going to be more local news. So Baton Rouge crime probably wouldn't translate real well, like Charles. I'd have to change the show up a little bit, but I'd be down.
You don't get that anywhere else. Your show in terms of the digging, diving. The only time you get it like the feeling not
Right,
local reporter, folks reporting on that.
right.
The detailed way.
No, we yeah, and that was when we launched the station. That was the focus, was to be local. As we see the rest of talk radio becoming more and more syndicated, and just having a national shouting match, we want to cover what's here. So,
It's good, man.
my pleasure.
Thank you so much for the water.
No,